Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another exciting Propagandacast with me, your host, ImperialDane, and today I have for you a 1 vs 1 on Ruins of Rouen. Yes, indeed, the one with the two words that sound awfully lot alike, which certainly makes it a bit hard to pronounce because for some reason in your mind fucks it all up. Oh dear, I said fuck. My apologies. But I'm for some reason feeling awfully energetic and ready to deliver some glorious propaganda onto you, my faithful viewers and troops. And of course, Rouen, rather interesting map, heavily urban, lots of things that can block your line of fire. Again, that's rather one important feature of this map, which of course can give the Americans a bit of an advantage, unless of course, as a Wehrmacht player, you know what you're doing, or you're just incredibly, ridiculously lucky. Which though is a rather rare thing, but let's go have a look at our opponents. In the southern corner, we are seeing weflyhigh 08, a level 11 American commander. Alright, not bad, in fact. And opposing him shall be, yes indeed, me. Again, I know some of you are rather complaining, oh dear, not another game with Dane. Again, I know others are saying, whoopee, another game with Dane. There seems to be some sort of, well, lack of unity on this subject. And of course, as some of my people of course might remember, when I do cast my game, sometimes it's because I don't have much time to do other things, like going through that huge, vast, terrible, dark, foreboding archive of replays I've managed to amass over the many few weeks. Again, I've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of replays, and the thing is, to go through all that, I might actually have to take a day. I certainly can't remember them all, so again, sometimes I just use my own games because I'm short on time, and I bloody well know my own games, at least to a certain extent, and I know, well, is this interesting or not? It is? Then we'll use it. Right, lad. So there we go, and fighting for the Wehrmacht, we of course have me, 2nd Panzer Division, 1 Panzer Grenadier Battalion, I imagine, and opposing, of course, weflyhigh of the... oh, I don't know. Let's just say 3rd Infantry Division, and let us get right down to it, lads. Pioneers hanging about, apparently a bit, but getting a move on. Other pioneers on the way. Barracks going up. Engineers on the way. So far, so good.
Get ready for action, pioneers.
In the ruined outskirts of Saint-Lô, where the Americans are pushing forwards heavily. Held among others primarily though by the 352nd. The 2nd Panzer Division was moved in to sort of provide support for the 352nd alongside the 17th SS Panzer Division Kurz von Berlichingen. Those were some of the primary major contenders in the American sectors, those that fought long and hard. The Panzerlehr was later on moved in from the British sector, having him beaten up and participated in the Battle of Villers-Bocage. Otherwise, there was a Fallschirmjäger regiment, and otherwise mostly 3rd and 2nd rate divisions in the form of, well, basically fortress divisions and some Ostbataljonen, stuff like that. Engineers heading east and west. Volksgrenadiers on the way out of this Wehrmacht quarters, which probably could stand for the Widerstandnesten, one of these sort of defensive fortifications the Wehrmacht would build, a series of defensive bunkers following a pattern. For different purposes, this one probably for living quarters. Fun fact though about the whole building of the Atlantic Wall, there was for a large part actually no real sort of coordination between the different units building things. So in some cases you'd have defense bunkers, and then some genius would build bunkers for living quarters right in front in the line of fire of that, or the field of fire. So that was certainly a bit of a problem. Americans though heading rather towards the center. Volksgrenadiers heading west were sort of hooking right there, laying down some sandbags to seize the fuel point right there in safety, since of course I'm rather feeling this might be slightly exposed. This might get slightly dangerous for my poor Volksgrenadiers, so putting up some sandbags before the enemy arrives can certainly help and allow them to take the point in safety. Some might lay down one piece of sandbag, I'll lay down some slightly more, so the Volksgrenadiers do have a bit more to sort of hide behind. Riflemen heading eastwards, and these pioneers might come out no fire right away. There we go. Pioneers not too happy about that. 2nd Volksgrenadier team arriving. Might move in to deal with this. And Riflemen apparently pulling away again. That was the first engagement. Not much going on so far. No losses though. Fuel secured. Victory point secured. And Volksgrenadiers coming under fire from the Riflemen, pushing onward. Volksgrenadiers a bit out in the open. And Engineers and Volksgrenadiers engaging in the west, while Volksgrenadiers and Riflemen in the center. MG42 might want to get called in, got slightly caught up here, and that of course can happen from time to time. Engineers on the run. Further riflemen pushing through here. MG42 is on the way, but the Volksgrenadiers are quite simply getting outgunned by the riflemen. Simply too many against 5 Volksgrenadiers, despite their best efforts. And so I am forced to do a bit of containment right here and at least await something a bit more in terms of firepower, so I can push on and force the Americans out of the center. Engineers in the east,
The enemy is seizing our
not
territory.
quite happy about that. And the west is also mostly secure, but currently the Americans already managed to seize most of their territory, partly due to the fact that Americans are rifle in particular, are quite good at seizing territory. And engagement right here in the center. Volksgren is a bit exposed again. Heavy cover is nice, but it is directional. But there we go. Trying to help out that bit is, of course, some Volksgrenadiers with sandbags. Further riflemen arriving. Volksgrenadiers going down. And moving about out in the open. Might want to focus them down, but no. The MG42 is ready to protect, and the riflemen will be flanking. Good move. Use of maneuver, of course, and I'm rather not moving away to sort of try and help with that. MG42 blasting down the riflemen in the west, but the Volksgrenadiers simply taking too many losses. Riflemen in the center also taking some, though. Further Volksgrenadiers on the way to sort of help here. Volksgrenadier team number 1 not looking too good at all. Pioneers moving through in the west and the east. Center, though, looks like it could be slowly deteriorating and collapsing. Further losses for the riflemen. Volksgrenadiers pulling slightly back towards something that covers a bit better against those chaps. But that was certainly a good maneuver, a good flank. You know, I couldn't move them either away, because then those chaps here would have gotten a nice position. And of course now they're moving into a flank of their own. But they are caught out in the open against the Volksgrenadier with all their automatic all their rifle and some automatic weapons from the submachine guns. And of course there we go. Riflemen forced away. That was slightly less fortunate. A nice flank, but it probably should have been sort of tried from numerous angles. Or from numerous angles. There we go. Another team of riflemen arriving. That's 4 teams so far, actually. Quite aggressive. Skirmish phase has been reached. Of course, I'm not entirely sure what to expect. Should I be expecting Browning automatics? Should I be expecting armored cars? We are at least seeing a Trias in the right here to certainly help keeping his riflemen in the fight for a longer period of time, healing them up. That, of course, is not a bad move. And we are not seeing the barracks flashing, so we might actually be expecting some sort of supply yard. Or supply depot. Small engagement right here in the east. Pioneers being forced away by the engineers. Engineers do have a bit of a slight advantage, usually in most open engagements, since they do have 1 more man. That, of course, means 1 more gun. Volksgrenadiers heading in to deal with that. MG42 covering through here. Volksgrenadiers moving about, sitting down some barbed wire to sort of make this area harder to move through and thus deny any sort of direct attempts at taking the victory point. And the east is secure. Riflemen getting ready, moving through on all sides. Quite a bit of a vicious assault going on here. Still nothing going on in the barracks, though. And direct assault right here in the east. Volksgrenadiers coming under fire. Those chaps trying to take the point also need to stop doing so. There we go, but riflemen already too close. And the east, of course, immediately collapsed because the Volksgrenadiers were not ready. And the riflemen were easily and quickly able to seize the point right here. Or at least seize the wall right there and thus get the advantage over the Volksgrenadiers. And now might be flanking here, but the MG42 is simply not ready for that. Of course, for some reason I'm thinking it actually sort of points that way, but as you might have noticed, it's pointing that way, thus unable to stop the riflemen flanking in, thus resulting in a total collapse of the center. That is less than brilliant, less than inspiring. Pack 38 on the way, of course, but I'm not seeing anything that might indicate Browning automatic rifles, so at best get some sort of anti-vehicle solution. Volksgrenadiers getting ready again.
We are ready.
Moving out, ready to swiftly counterattack and minimize the amount of damage that can be done to my territorial holdings. Moving through the center, riflemen sort of moving about. No mines, though, being laid down from the Americans either. Or barbed wire or sandbags. And riflemen trying to seize this strategic point, getting shot down. Other forces moving towards the center. Pioneers with flamethrowers charging in. Riflemen trying to take cover there, but of course the barbed wire denies them it. That, of course, is a good thing to remember when you're putting down sandbags. You know, to try and remember, put down some sandbags. And Pioneers moving in from another flank. MG42 in a bad position, so the Volksgrenadiers, for some reason, the MG42 sets up right in the open. Oh dear, this could end up badly. In fact, it looks like it will be doing. The MG42 is lost. Riflemen, though, getting shot up in a nasty manner. But will they be lost? And something is going on in that barracks. Could be BARs. Pack 38 is ready. Another half-track on the way. And we are seeing a medic station. So certainly we are seeing solutions for the long-term fight. We are seeing a triage center. We're not seeing a supplier yet, though. But we are also seeing a medic station sort of help with the wounded. Help with attrition. That's what we like to see. Half-track, though, on the way will certainly help a bit with the loss of the MG42. It can certainly provide suppression towards the enemy. Mines being laid down, and Volkswagen is seizing as much territory as bloody well possible. And there we go. Browning automatic rifles are ready for the riflemen on weflyhigh and the 3rd Infantry Division. And a half-track ready. Half-track's pretty much being only part of a Panzer divisions. Panzer Grenadier divisions would actually only have trucks. So they'd be more like a motorized division rather than an armored infantry division. And engineers engaging the Volks Grenadiers. Engineers rather obviously outclassed in this fight. Of course, they could have flamethrowers, but no, they are quickly on the run again. And lots of firepower being directed against the Pioneers. MG42 setting up. Damn those American thieves. And half-track and Volks Grenadiers moving towards the center. Taking up positions in heavy cover. Riflemen moving in for the flank. Half-track might want to try and move in, but no. And flanking about instead. Grenadiers are ready from the barracks, but where they are I can't quite say. There we go. Volks Grenadiers in a bit of slack position. But some are getting in fact suppressed because they're not quite in heavy cover, and the MG42 gets so suppressed, probably there's also some suppression fire from the Browning automatic rifles. Other Volks Grenadiers also retreating behind only the Grenadiers and the half-track. Riflemen forced away from that point. Half-track advances, decides to push the advantage with the light machine gun. Although again, I'm a bit cautious since I might actually be then soon be facing some sort of sticky bomb from the riflemen. And a mortar on the way to sort of help with here. And while of course there's sort of things that can block the line of fire for most of my units, though for the mortar, though, that can actually be a bit of a plus, since that can actually help it stay alive. And Seal and Terror is ready. Inspired Assault, rather fond of that ability. Mortar team ready to provide some heavier fire support and dig out those Americans from their positions. In particular, that MG42 is something I'd very much like to see go away, or at least end up back in my hands. And there we go, hitting a mine. Motorized or mechanized assault in the west. Half-track and Grenadiers. Mortar rounds going in on the MG42. Volks Grenadiers and Pioneers getting ready to push the assault there. Sticky bomb on the half-track, but the riflemen are certainly taking a bit of damage as well. Down to 2 men. Further riflemen moving in from the south. And looks like this position might soon go away if the mortar can keep off firing. Half-track trying to get away. In fact, this engine was not damaged by the sticky bombs. That's something that can happen, though it is a bit of a rare occurrence. Riflemen charging straight through here in the east. And we are seeing Inspired Assault going up, increasing the rate of fire. And a bit of the damage as well, although it also makes them easier to hit. But there we go, MG42 cleared out. Available to use for the Wehrmacht once more. Small victory there. Sending those Americans running. And we are seeing a supply it up and a motor pool. So I might be expecting an M8 soon as well. Medics moving in. And riflemen moving in to put a stop to any attempts here. Pioneers moving in with the flamethrowers to help, and these riflemen are already veterans. 1. Very nasty that. In fact, it's time to have a good look at weflyhigh. Pioneers taking quite some losses, though, need to retreat. Another rifleman, though, burns. And the MG42 is seized. And we do see a mortar round flying, and thankfully not killing any of my troops. Looks like some engineers are getting ready for a flank assault with the flamethrowers. Really good at keeping up their aggression in weflyhigh. And of course, the motor pool, we might be seeing something there. And no, we're seeing grenades. Actually, that's less than fortunate. I mean, if you're building a motor pool, you might also want to, use it. Instead, he's going for grenades, thus meaning it won't be getting really used. Though that is a bit of a caveat I might have there to his brilliance. Mortar being forced away, as I'm rather suspecting something might be poking up through there. Volks Grenadiers could be sent in. Rest of my forces getting reinforced back at Reich headquarters. And Grenadiers seizing back that fuel point. But grenades, that's only going to help weflyhigh's firepower. Interesting enough, he's not gone for a doctrine. We have not seen anything that could really help with all that munition. For example, would be airborne or infantry. But sadly neither. And grenades getting flanked by the Grenadiers in west. Half-track still providing support. Grenadiers also, and the riflemen are simply getting shot up out in the open. The sticky bomb goes off in the half-track. And the half-track is actually immobilized. That's a lot less fortunate, in fact. And we are seeing further riflemen moving in, ready to cover it in their filthy sticky bombs. Oh dear. Half-track shall not make it, I fear. Although the mortar might try and find support. Riflemen are somewhat getting suppressed. And apparently they're not even sticky bombing, they're just firing away with their automatic weapons, tearing through the thin armor. That's not very friendly. But now they are retreating rather swiftly. Still a bit penned in right here, not a lot of territory for me. Need to push onwards, though it is a bit hard when considering he's constantly counter-attacking, thus forcing me on the wrong footing. And now with the M8 on the way, things are certainly going to get even nastier. But moving forwards, not giving up, ever onwards. Keep up the pressure. And a Sturmarmory on the way. Always helpful. A bit of quiet at the moment. Grenadiers seizing what they can from the Americans. Sturmarmory still going up. Greyhound ready. Might be seeing some upgrades for that. Still no doctrine though for weflyhigh at all. And he needs with flamethrowers hiding in this train station or train depot. Interestingly enough. It looks like the Americans are getting ready for something major, perhaps hoping to ambush these grenadiers and do some terrible damage to them, or run to them. Volksgrenadiers is laying up some sandbags here to provide protection. Riflemen moving in from the east. MG42 not close enough to actually provide cover for that area, and grenades on the Volksgrenadiers. Volksgrenadiers don't make it, and there we go, the MG42 actually firing away, suppressing the Americans, and sending them scurrying back to their base. And the Grenadiers are quickly forced into retreat in the west. Sturmarmory is ready. And the M8 is now fully upgraded. Armored skirts and the 50 caliber might be going in for the base though. Pak 38 is actually covering it, but I'm not quite sure of course where the M8 will be coming from. And mortar just keeps blasting away, hoping to catch some Americans. There we go, another kill for the fatherland. Rifleman reformed, that's actually a good move right there. And of course always why you want a medic station. And apparently he had lost a rifleman team, so he was able to get a fresh one. Further grenadiers from the creek barracks just as the M8 charges in, trying to lay down a M8 mine, in fact, but it cancels it. And Pak 38 getting ready to blast away, and there we go, damaged engine. And a mine right in front of the Krieg barracks, that's ever so vicious. Of course, if I was going at a Pak 38, that would of course be a problem. But I'm not, and of course I know there's an M8 mine right there. So I'll probably be sending in some pioneers to deal with that with a minesweeper sooner or later. Small engagement here, but the Sonderkraftfahrzeug 434, armored car, schwerer Panzerspähwagen, moving in to deal with this. Volksgrenadiers though getting shot up a bit. Pioneers burning some of those nasty riflemen, and a damaged engine for that heavy armored car. Larger infantry maneuver in the east, and the LMG-42 getting ready for the Grenadiers. 8 kills already, so let's keep that in mind before it begins shooting up other people. And looks like we might be seeing some riflemen catching the Grenadiers, and Volksgrenadiers wrong-footed. And already one rifleman goes down, apparently. Rather heavily, in fact. Quite a bit of firepower being directed against those riflemen. One down. And the entire team was in fact lost to this rather vicious combination of Volksgrenadiers Grenadiers with the LMG-42 in support. Riflemen forced away from the center, and Rangers now arriving on the field. Might be seeing some submachine guns for those sometime soon. But he has gone infantry. And And LMG-42 Grenadiers moving in to support the Fulls Grenadiers as they try to get those engineers out of that bloody building. I do believe it's time for the mid-game analysis. Yes, indeed. I mean, currently the American is holding most of the territory. The US taking quite a beating, losing some teams now here and there. A bit unfortunate that he didn't choose a doctrine earlier. Had he perhaps gotten some artillery earlier, or for example a strafing run, he might actually have been able to do much more against me and thus keep me further contained. Still though, nice for the supplier, the triage center and the medic station sort of keeping him in the fight longer. That's what we like to see, although he probably could do with more mines. He probably shouldn't have been sending that M8 right into my base. Of course he didn't know that I had a pack right ready. But of course charging in those ranges probably very soon towards these submachine guns are on the way. But he certainly needs to sort of deliver some harsh blows to me, kill off some of my units in a more proper fashion, and he needs to secure the center here, clear out the barbed wire, thus ensuring he can move through here much more easily. And of course if we could deliver a blow here, that would certainly also be helpful. We'll of course have to see about that. I of course just need to keep on pressing and keep on killing his people. Of course how easy that's going to be is a completely different matter. But let's return to the fight then.
Tell us where the killing's at.
Engineers hiding in there, getting fired upon quite a bit. LMG-42 not really useful against units in buildings. And Rangers charging in. And Grenadiers firing away. Of course might want to focus all my defense. LMG Grenadiers also moving in. And the Rangers are getting shot up a bit. Fulls Grenadiers also firing support. A grenade on the Rangers. Killing one. Forcing those away. And the Grenadiers here need to get away. They're a bit too low on health. Riflemen advancing. Grenadiers continuing to fire away in the name of the fatherland. And further riflemen just streaming in. And of course remembering there's an engineer team right behind. I actually end up retreating simply because I know I can't hold that position unless of course I end up losing a lot of men. And at the same time quickly seizing as much as I can here in the west. Sort of shifting things around. Armored car moving in. Anti-tank gun ready. And catching some riflemen out in the open with the armored car. Sturmgeschütz moving in. From the 2nd Panzer Division Stug-Abteilung. Each division, Panzer Division, was supposed to have a battalion, I believe it was, of Stugs. And that was actually to make up for the fact that they couldn't get panzers. That was changed in 1943 after a series of nasty battles, including Kursk. Guderian was brought in to reorganize the panzer divisions and to make sure that there were enough panzers for every panzer divisions. He actually cut out each panzer divisions, one of their battalions of panzers, and replaced it with Stugs. So, little fun fact there, since of course the Stug is a bit of a be used as a panzer in fact, although not the best. Still it can be, and in fact. So that is a bit of a fun fact right there. Fulls Grenadiers getting shot up. Opel Blitz also getting blown up, but that wasn't really part of my division. And Riflemen getting awfully clumped up out in the open. Mortar rounds flying in, and heavy losses. Grenadiers with LMG moving in to support as well. And getting stopped by the LMG-42. Another Opel Blitz providing cover there though. The other one gone. Pack. No, that's not a pack. That's an anti-tank, and of course pack was the German sort of acronym or synonym or something NIM, or at least abbreviation for anti-tank gun. That was Panzerabwehrkanone. So it's basically alright, I suppose, in some sense. Engineers forced out by the almighty presence of the Sturmgeschütz.
Front shifting. Krauts are grabbing territory from us.
Panzer Grenadier divisions were also supposed to actually have a Panzer battalion, but in some cases they simply couldn't get that, so they got Stugs. Although I'm not entirely sure if that was only SS Panzer Grenadier divisions. There's I'm a bit unsure on that, since Himmler had a tendency of playing by his own rules and not really following Guderian's instructions. So I'm a bit unsure on that, I must admit. Granted, Stugs were also working in independent battalions that could be attached wherever needed. That is, Stug-Abteilungs or batteries. Barbed wire going down here to sort of prevent a direct assault. Anti-tank anti-air Grenadiers ready to provide covering fire. For some reason rushing forwards out of the cover. That's a bit unfortunate, but getting back again. Lots of fire. Veterancy 1 for infantry and armor. will have to be forced away though. Fultz Grenadiers absolutely slaughtered by the vicious Rifleman. Grenadiers will also have to retreat. And Sturmgeschütz just getting away, doesn't want to get sticky bombed by all those nasty Riflemen. And a Puma ready, in fact upgraded to the Puma. As the Puma was actually the name of that with the gun right there. The otherwise unupgraded armored car is actually just a heavy armored car. It didn't really have a name besides Schwerer Panzerspähwagen. There was a few variants on the sort of heavy armored car. There was also one which was equipped with a sort of gun we see on the sort of, well, it was the Panzer IV infantry support tank. It was known as the Stummel, or sort of meant as a support vehicle. There was also a half-track variant of that actually. Fun little facts. Grenadiers and Volksgrenadiers moving out, some with, in fact, all having some sort of automatic weapons, either submachine guns, BARs, or the LMG-42. Still unsure of its actual effectiveness, though. Volksgrenadiers in the west taking back. In fact, tides have turned, and I do believe it's time to return to me. Mortar ready so far, 15 kills. Anti-tank gun firing away, but it's a bit exposed. I'm not entirely sure why I moved it out like that. I mean, of course, there's this sort of things being blocked in terms of line of fire, but again, you have to remember you... Oh dear, that was a terrible grenade. 5 men dead. Volksgrenadiers forced away, but again, you want to ensure that you can actually ensure your anti-tank guns are protected. Again, they're support units, not the sort of frontline units you actually want in the front. And yes, charging forwards, getting gunned down. The Grenadiers with an MG-42 being quite vicious. And we are seeing snipers, in fact, arriving on the field, sniping my poor Grenadiers. Heavy armored car, the Puma moves in. Firing away at the riflemen there, though slightly pulling back. And of course means a weapon support sent up in our friends, the American space. Still no supply yet upgrades, though, that's a bit odd. And the sniper for some reason just keeps firing away. Oh, that's my medics. Yes, indeed, I have set up a medic bunker. Again, always try to prepare for the long fight if possible. More Grenadiers on the way, and now a bike.
What are your orders?
And the Puma trying to hunt down that sniper, but no such luck, sadly.
Good as new. Field repairs. They're firing on us. Comm system in order.
No further veterancy on the way, though that's a bit sad, and looks like we are in fact seeing an off-map combat group. So getting 2 heavy machine guns, an anti-tank gun and some riflemen, that's only going to help in terms of losing that anti-tank gun which was lost. Riflemen hiding in that old trains depot, getting fired upon. Sturmgeschütz now veterancy 2, giving it the light LMG mount. Heavy machine gun setting up, snipers also moving in, though no infantry to really stop right there. Heavy machine gun covering that approach, anti-tank gun moving forwards. And riflemen simply getting shot up, trying to sticky bomb the Puma. But the Stug simply proves too much, and one rifleman in fact goes down to the wrath of the Stug. Mortar rounds landing amongst the Americans as they advance. And heavy machine gun a bit exposed. And it is in fact cleared out. Rifleman also cleared out. In fact, the Puma knocks them all out with one high explosive shield from its 50mm cannon. Bike has to be careful. And the Puma goes out of control tragically. Was hoping to get behind the anti-tank gun before it fired, but no such luck. Volksgrenadiers snatch a heavy machine gun as repayment for that machine gun they stole from me. At this stage, things are looking a bit grim for our American friend, though he could still launch a counter-attack, I suppose. Although my mortar is proving quite nasty. He'd probably have actually been better off getting a mortar of his own. The sniper moving about here but not really achieving much. And the heavy machine gun right in the middle of the road, getting bombarded as well by that mortar. 24 kills. 30 caliber opening up on the large advancing horde of American forces as they advance right across. LMG-42 backfiring away as well. Flamethrower scouring across the advancing Americans. Grenade on the 30 caliber. clearing out grenades on the Rangers. Stug might want to actually advance to assist while he haven't been moved in. But nonetheless, Propaganda War saves everything. And then the heavy machine gun gets sniped. That was a bit more of a bother. But the mortar still fires. And the riflemen are advancing. The Grenadiers hunting the sniper. And a nice hit right there. Kills quite a few riflemen down. The Stug advances for the fatherland. And the Grenadiers not having quite much luck in actually hunting down that damn sniper. Further Grenadiers on the way, and another bike. Now at this stage things seem to be pretty much over for our American friend. That mortar simply being too much for him to actually survive. In particular, since I keep grinding down his assaults, actually making it easier for my mortar to actually hit him. That, of course, is a vital thing to remember. And a King Tiger being made ready. Anti-tank gun seized. Mortar, though, firing again. Ever so. Rangers charging forwards. Anti-tank gun ready, but not quite ready to fight the Stug, it seems. And the bike immediately gets knocked out of control. Light machine guns firing everywhere. And the Rangers find candy beneath the treads of the Stug, or at least they think it's candy. It's actually death. And inspired assault, really tearing through things. Rangers trying to move in, getting absolutely murdered. And the Grenadiers out in the open, forcing away these riflemen. And the mortars just clear out everything else. The mortar got me. GG. And how many kills? 35 kills for one mortar. That's definitely worth its cost in gold. Heroes of the Reich, by not even actually being at the front still. Certainly a reminder that a mortar, either way, can really do quite a difference. And of course, had he gotten himself one, perhaps instead of that sniper, he could probably have knocked out everything here, or at least laid out a smoke cover, thus making things easier to attack with. But again, you don't see smoke being used very often. Perhaps it's a bit just too difficult to get handled probably, but who knows. Nonetheless, I hope you enjoyed this game. If you did, why not subscribe and tell your friends? And if you didn't, well, why not send in a replay of your own? And of course, what can we learn from this game? Well, I mean, we saw some good aggression from the American. We saw him sort of preparing for this sort of long haul, and then we sort of got carried away right here with the frontal assaults. Of course, he made some nice moves, but even then, if he just spread out his troops a bit to sort of move in from the sides, he probably could have been doing a lot better. Sadly, it was the sort of hammer approach, and thus he got, well, crushed beneath light machine gun fire of all sorts. And of course, the mortar really was good at sort of destroying his clumped up assaults as they sort of ground down in front of MG fire and what else, thus making an easier target. I mean, a mortar is really a great thing to combine with suppression weapons, since of course a suppressed unit is much harder, to move, and thus bloody easier to hit for the mortars. Of course, sandbags and bomb wire can certainly also help, but really, again, I mean, really what could have helped him was if he sort of perhaps changed his angle of attack a bit more, and if he'd gotten a mortar himself, I really think he could have been done better, perhaps also a supplied upgrade, but still good to have a medic station. In fact, he might also almost have gotten a second rifleman team. So I hope you enjoyed it, and cheers.